That's not comfy. Hello. Alright, getting comfy. We're going to talk about The Path today. The TV show The Path that I've spoken so much about. Let me just get all my stuff in order here. There it is. Hey. Hello in Chicago. Hello in Seattle. Hey there. All right, let's see if I can find my live stream again. Oh, yes. Are you talking about the rum? Hello in Houston. Hope everything's well. Yeah, everyone is freaking out about Hurricane Irma down here in Clearwater. Schools were just canceled for the next 2 days. Gas is running out pretty much everywhere. And it's a little silly because even if Hurricane Irma hits our area, which if it does, it's not supposed to be for 4 days. That's my point. Even if it hits our area, it's not for 4 days. Why are they canceling school on Thursday and Friday? Maybe it's to give school teachers enough time to prep their homes. But every single model shows the hurricane going up the East Coast, going off the border of the East Coast of Florida. That is hundreds of miles away from us. There's nothing wrong with being prepared, but canceling school? I mean, whatever. People are losing their minds. Everyone's talking about evacuating. There's not even a hurricane warning or a hurricane watch or anything. But I can't blame people for overreacting after what happened in Houston. Better safe than sorry. Okay, we're going to talk about The Path today. I rewatched episode 1, and even rewatching the episode, I was more like, I cannot believe how many things in this show are just taken right out of Scientology. Hello. Yeah, no, I heard the hurricane was 400 miles wide, but again, you have to just look at the headlines and how sensationalistic they are, or sensationalist. They say the biggest hurricane ever in the Atlantic. Well, that's fine, but Florida is right off of the Gulf and the Caribbean. It's not the biggest hurricane ever in the Gulf or the Caribbean. So it's true that it might be the biggest hurricane in the Atlantic, but that doesn't have anything to do with Florida. Florida gets bigger hurricanes than that. I'm not trying to minimize the damage this hurricane is going to cause to whatever land it does hit. It's just not going to be Tampa. Let's hope I don't eat my words in 4 days. I'm going to be in Los Angeles. Me and Heather are going to be in Los Angeles. We're not even going to be here. I kind of wish I were here. If something was going to happen to the house, I'd rather be here to know that it was happening. We'll have people watching the house, but still. All right, let me look at my stream this time. That's awesome. That is awesome. And let me just tweet this sucker out, and we'll get going. Okay, I think that ought to do it. All right, so check this out. Similarities to Scientology. First of all, let's talk about the actors in this show. This is a spoiler. I'm going to spoil the episode, at least episode 1, for anyone who hasn't seen it. I thought I was going to get away without actually spoiling the plot, but after I put all my notes together, I was like, nah. I'm basically discussing the entire plot of episode 1. But it doesn't give away the entire season, and it's not like I'm going to just give everything away. But I think if you have to spoil the first episode and that gets you to watch the whole season, it was probably worthwhile. So Hugh Dancy is one of the lead actors. He is the David Miscavige character in this show. I think if you ever saw the TV show Hannibal, you will know this actor because he played Will Graham. and he was great in that show, and he's great in this show. Aaron Paul is the other lead actor. Aaron Paul is Jesse from Breaking Bad. Unbelievable actor. So Jesse, or I should say, his character in this show is, what is his character's name? Oh, Eddie. His name's Eddie. His character in this show doesn't have a direct equivalent in the actual historical story of Scientology. If you wanted to draw parallels, the character of Eddie that Aaron Paul plays, if you wanted to draw a parallel, he would actually represent independent Scientology, which sounds pretty weird. But in this show, he is a guy who's one of the leading members of the group. And he starts to open his eyes to the lies that are being told to keep the group under control. And he starts to, instead of just leaving the group, I realize it's a rough parallel to independent Scientology. Instead of just leaving the group, he tries to affect change within the group. He does actually himself get kicked out of the group at one point. He's trying to cancel the disconnection policy that the group has. Like, it's kind of crazy. But there you go. Michelle Monaghan plays the female lead character. Now, this is really interesting. Michelle Monaghan's been in a lot of stuff. But what I remember her most from was Mission Impossible 3. And in looking up what she's done lately, I saw that she's currently filming Mission Impossible 6 with Tom Cruise. Awkward! She is starring in a show that is in no question a critique on Scientology, and she is currently filming a movie with Tom Cruise. Let's see. What did I write down here? Okay, so one of the things, I realized that I'm watching this show and I'm viewing it through the lens of someone that is familiar with Scientology. So everything I see that's similar to Scientology, it's very easy for me to go, this show must be about Scientology. And I'd be hard-pressed to say that it's not. But it did occur to me that I wondered if high control groups, or the type of cult that Scientology is, if these groups have so much in common, that I wondered if former members of those other groups would be watching this show going, oh my God, this is a show about my group. Like, I get, for some reason, the most messages I get are from people who were Jehovah's Witnesses. I do get messages from people who are in other groups, but the Jehovah's Witnesses are the ones I get most commonly. And I would love to know if you were a member of that group, and if you've seen this show, do you see parallels to your experience, or are you more inclined to agree with me that it's mostly about Scientology? Or if anyone was a part of any other group they considered to be a cult, if you see the similarities. Okay, so I have been told that the consultant on this show is the founder of Landmark. So the founder of Landmark is Harry Rosenberg. Harry Rosenberg is the brother of the founder of EST. Earnhardt Seminar Training is what EST stands for, or Earnhardt Seminar Technology. I think it's training, but just Google it, EST. Werner Erhard, hope I'm saying it right. Werner Erhard is the creator of EST. And EST has a technology, and L. Ron Hubbard has always said that EST was ripoff of Scientology. So growing up in Scientology, I was always taught to be afraid of EST, basically. That, oh my God, that's the creepy, spooky squirrel group of Scientology. But Harry Rosenberg is Werner Erhard's brother, and he licensed the rights from Werner Erhard to use the technology of EST in Landmark, to create Landmark. I couldn't tell you what the differences specifically are between Landmark and EST. I was told by someone I consider to be a reliable source that Harry Rosenberg is the consultant for the show The Path. Can't swear to it, can't say it's a fact. I can only say I was told it by someone that I trust. I would give it about an 80% certainty level there that it could be true, because I don't know where my friend got his information from. But he didn't seem to think it was true. He seemed to know it was true. I don't know anything about EST or Landmark other than what LRH said about it, and that I read growing up in Scientology, that it was a ripoff of Scientology, and that Landmark is essentially EST 2.0. And I doubt that Harry Rosenberg, if he really is the consultant on the show, I doubt that he would be trolling his own organization or his brother's organization. So I would not assume that this show was based in any way on Landmark or Est, but at the same time, why would the founder of Landmark be the one consulting on a show about Scientology? Kind of interesting, a little bit of food for thought. Okay, so let's get into what episode 1 is about. Okay, this blew my mind, especially what just happened with Hurricane Harvey and everything. I totally forgot how the episode begins. The episode begins with a natural disaster. It's the site of a hurricane. Hello in South Africa. The show opens up on a shot of a disaster. Not a hurricane, a tornado. A disaster site. A tornado's just gone through this area. Everyone's freaking out. There's stuff on fire. There's people scavenging for food and water and whatnot. And up roll the big white vans, the airport vans, like the 12-seater airport vans, just like the ones that Scientology has for its volunteer minister activities. The Church of Scientology has these bright yellow, kind of orangish volunteer minister vans. Just Google volunteer minister Scientology and you'll see photos of these airport-looking vans. Several of these vans pull up with their logo on the side of it, just like Scientology has, and they get out of the vans and they're all, kind of dressed cleanly, neatly and sharply, but all have matching t-shirts on, just like the Scientology volunteer ministers. Now, I also realize that any organization that goes out and does stuff often has matching t-shirts, and that's fine. I'm just saying the parallels to Scientology are there, even if there are other parallels to other organizations. They get out, they're handing out water, they're helping put out little fires here and there, and they basically loading everyone up into their vans and bringing them back to their compound. I don't usually like wearing I don't like using the word compound because to me it sounds like a military term. When people call a Scientology property a compound, I usually kind of roll my eyes and say, you're kind of exaggerating there. But it's a compound in the sense that it's a big property, it's got a lot of buildings on it, and it's got a secure iron gate in front of it. So this is one place where the show differs from anything Scientology would do. Scientology ain't bringing nobody back to their goddamn compound. Scientology's not going to give someone a bed to sleep in. Scientology's not going to bring someone back and feed them. When the volunteer ministers go into a disaster site, they're there for photo ops. The actual volunteer ministers that are there, I'm sure while they are there, are trying to help people in ways that they can without being annoying and without being told to leave. But when they're done helping people, they leave, and they ain't bringing anybody with them. All right, and in the show, it's actually not until a later episode, someone makes a funny joke. Someone in like the FEMA, it's not even the FEMA Disaster Center. It's some government office, they're having this conversation, and they're like, this organization got there even before FEMA did. And one of the guys on the show, a scripted line goes, who, the Scientologists? And someone goes, no, the Meyerists. So this organization in the show is called the Meyerist Movement. They're called the Meyerists. And the founder, they use the word founder just like Scientology does, is Dr. Stephen Meyer. Well, just like L. Ron Hubbard. I had people call him doctor when he wasn't. Okay, moving on to my next point. They are doing a prayer. Let me move these notes a little bit closer to the camera. Hello in Connecticut. So in this show, the Meyerists do pray, even though they're not a Christian group. They don't believe in Christ, as far as I can tell in the show. And I honestly can't even tell if they believe in God. They believe in Dr. Stephen Meyer. They believe in the light, and they believe in the ladder that will get you to the light. And when you go all the way up the ladder and you come to know the truth of the light, you then will live forever in the garden. So that is a little different than how Scientology describes what they're doing. Hello in Oslo. There's a shot where they're doing a prayer before they eat. Scientologists do not pray. Scientologists do not say grace. And they say, in their prayer, they say, break through the blocks and barriers in this life. That phrase might as well be lifted from a Scientology promo piece. Breaking through the blocks and the barriers in life is what Scientology, how it bills itself as what auditing will allow you to do, and what getting trained as a Scientology auditor will allow you to do to break through the blocks and the barriers of life. They talk about ascending the ladder in their prayer. Well, Scientologists talk about going up the bridge. And, sometimes people will ask me, why do they say going up the bridge instead of crossing the bridge or going over the bridge? And it's funny because that hadn't quite occurred to me before someone asked me that a few weeks ago. But the way L. Ron Hubbard described the bridge is that it's not a bridge connecting a place over here to a place over here. It's a bridge connecting a place over here to a place up here. So it's like a bridge like that. So that's why they say going up the bridge, even though normally saying going across a bridge is what would make the most sense. And if you look, Google the term Scientology bridge to total freedom, and you'll see that Scientology's bridge is laid out on a poster that hangs on the wall, and it does look like a ladder. And so it is interesting that if you were going to make a TV show about this subject and you wanted to just make some changes that you weren't going to be just sued right off the bat, that you would call it a ladder instead of a bridge, because going up the bridge in Scientology does very much look like climbing a ladder. Alrighty, what's next? Okay, so Eddie. Eddie is Aaron Paul's character, and he's married to Michelle Monaghan, who's one of the top leaders in the group. And Eddie just got back from a trip in Peru, which is it's a shaman and ayahuasca center. Well, ayahuasca, I hope I'm saying it right. Ayahuasca, it's the psychedelic drug. And so he just comes back from Peru, and people keep saying he just got back from Peru, and people the parallel here is when people go off to flag in Scientology. People go off to flag, or they go off to the ship. Ayahuasca. There you go, ayahuasca. People go to flag, which is here in Clearwater. From all over the world, Scientologists will go to flag. And then when you come back, it's like, oh, we just got back from flag. Oh, he's just back from flag. Oh my God. Oh, how we doing? Oh, how was it? It must have been great. Oh, was it awesome? Or if they went to the ship, someone goes to the Free Winds to do some auditing or whatever, and they come back. And it's like, oh, you just got back from the ship. Oh, man. So it's like the place far away that people go. And so in the path, Peru is the place where people go. And so he comes back, and he's, there's they're having a dinner, and there's a social environment, a social little gathering occurring. And people are talking about him being in Peru, and people are like, oh, I love that retreat. It made me so much more aware of everything. And it's funny because they call his trip to Peru a retreat. That is not a word Scientologists actually use, although the signs outside of Scientology's advanced organizations, which is where the OT levels are delivered, all say that these buildings are religious retreats. It must be some sort of legal term. I've always wondered. The Scientologists don't call these orgs retreats. They don't say they're going on a retreat. They don't say I'm going to the retreat. It's not a word used in Scientology, and yet it's the word on the signs. If you go to the Sandcastle, is the name of a building down here in Clearwater on Drew and Osceola, it will say Scientology Flag Service Organization Sandcastle Religious Retreat or something like that. So there was a parallel there, just in the word retreat itself. Okay, let's see. I already covered that note. Okay, so the Meyerists, when they bring the people from the tornado site back to their compound, there's a security guard booth right in front of a mechanical gate that opens up this way, or it just opens up to one way. Everyone is super friendly. Even the security guard is super friendly, despite this heavy security presence, which is very similar to what you would experience here at Flag in the Hacienda Gardens, where the Sea Org members live. There's exactly one of those gates. There's a security booth right in front, and the security guard would be super friendly to any normal. If any Sea Org member came who was senior to them, it wouldn't be some very strict professional thing. They would be exuberantly friendly. And it was just the flavor. And I was like, the interaction that's going on here just screams Scientology Sea Org. And almost every scene I watch, I'm like, how the fuck do they know this? Who's talking to them about this? And it would really blow my mind if it was really just the Rosenberg guy. How the fuck would he know? The Meyerists have a fleet of matching vans and cars, which is very similar to the Sea Org situation, mostly because in the Sea Org, when they buy vehicles, I think they get some bulk deal from Ford, so they have a whole bunch of matching Ford little sedans, a whole bunch of the matching Ford airport vans. So there's that. Let's see. So there's a scene where someone goes, "How's Eddie?" And Michelle Monaghan goes, "Oh, great, he just got back from 6R. So 6R is the sixth rung of the ladder, which is what he was supposed to be doing in Peru. And Hugh Dancy's character goes, "Oh, nice! He must be flying." Okay, go to find on Tony Ortega's blog the compilation of, I'll call them success videos, because that's what we called them in Scientology. It's this compilation of highly edited and high-paced testimonials where people are talking about, "Oh, I just did this, and it's, oh my God, this is what I got out of it, and oh my God, it was like this, and then my universe just opened up, and I was just able to," like, it's these real, like, okay, I guess my Wi-Fi was having trouble. I just turned off the Wi-Fi and we reconnected. So I think what I was saying is that Hugh Dancy is such a good actor, and in Hannibal, he's such a dark, reserved, brooding character. And then on this show, he's playing a cult leader. He's basically playing David Miscavige, and I'm so used to seeing him acting in a particular way. And he's like, "Oh, how's Eddie? Oh, he just got back from 6R." He's like, "Oh, nice! He must be flying!" Like, he's got the look in his eye. He's got that real thick enthusiasm, and his like unnaturally thick enthusiasm, which is that is just how Scientologists talk. Except in Scientology, it would be, "Oh, how's Eddie? Oh, great! He just finished OT7. Oh, nice! He must be so keyed out." Like, that's how the Scientology conversation would go. It's still flashing on and off, that the connection is bad. So if you're having any trouble with the stream, please throw it up in the comments just so I can tell. It's not putting my video on pause. It's at least continuing to go. So I'm going to keep going. All right, let's see. So one of the members of this group comes from California to the New York group, and someone asks someone else about Dr. Stephen Meyer and where is he? And the answer, actually, it was Hugh Dancy that was providing this answer. "Oh, he's in lockdown. He's writing." And so in the show, no one has seen Doc Meyer, or Dr. Steve Meyer. I don't know. I can't remember what their nickname is from. I don't know if they call him Doc. I don't know if they call him Steve. But let's just call him Doc. No one's seen him in a while. He's supposed to be in seclusion in California writing the next 3 rungs of the ladder. Are you kidding me? This is straight out of Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard, for the last 6 years of his life, was in seclusion in the California desert, allegedly writing up all of the remaining OT levels before he died. I can't imagine any other cult-like groups have a similar storyline to this one. But if I'm wrong, please mention it in the comments below. So in this group, all the members aspire to climb the ladder. And every step of the ladder is defined by a number, just like Scientology. In Scientology, you have grade 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the state of clear. And then you have OT 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. And then 9 and 10 are the ones that the Scientologists are waiting to be released. Let's see. I'm not going to turn my Wi-Fi back on. Just somebody throw some comments up and just let me know that the stream's going okay and it's not too laggy or anything. I see like half the people left, so I hope the stream's okay. All right, so everyone aspires to climb the ladder. Okay, so Eddie, Aaron Paul's character, he's one of the group leaders. As I said, he's not yet a group leader. He's married to the group leader. And Eddie's son wants to start climbing the ladder, but he's not 16 years old yet. And Eddie won't let him start climbing the ladder early because he says to his son that the doc says you need to wait until you're 16. And the son goes, "But mom's already 8R." And the son wants to drop out of school early. The son goes to a public school. He wants to drop out of school early and start climbing the ladder early. There is a loose correlation to Scientology, but in a somewhat reverse way here. So kids in Scientology, the children of veteran Scientologists, are pressured to leave school early and join the Sea Organization. Normally, kids do not want to join the Sea Org at first, and their parents sure as hell don't want them to join the Sea Org before they get their diploma. This is a very common occurrence in Scientology. But once the recruiters work their magic, this is how they do it. They don't change the parents' mind first. They change the child, the kid, the son or the daughter's mind first. Once they've convinced the son or the daughter that being in the Sea Org is going to be fucking awesome and amazing and allow them to achieve all of their dreams and is so much more important than school, the kid is then the one who hounds their parents to join the Sea Org. And then the battle is on because now the parent, who's a Scientologist, has been indoctrinated to believe that their kids are, they're not just kids, they're adults, and the parents start to worry whether they're holding their children back by not letting them join the Sea Org and do what they want. So eventually, the kid, through emotional blackmail, gets their parents to agree about tag teaming with the recruiters, gets the parents to consent for the kids to join the Sea Org. That's usually how that whole process goes. So again, just seeing the scene where Aaron Paul's child is hounding him to let him drop out of school and start the ladder early, to me, was straight out of a scene of a Scientology kid pressuring their parents to let them drop out of school and join the Sea Org early. That is absolutely something that happens. All right, next point here. About 15 minutes into the show, they're doing a little exercise to get rid of pent-up stress. Now, this exercise has nothing to do with anything that's done in Scientology. They're doing some weird thing. And the guy who's running the drill, at the end of it, he's kind of like, all right, how's everybody doing? And, they get kind of a muted response like, yeah, good. But then he gives one of these like, yeah, all right, right? And he gives this laugh that's a little too loud and it's a little too long, and it is absolutely a dig at Tom Cruise. There is no question about it. That thing where Tom Cruise laughs a little too hard and a little too long at not quite the right appropriate places is something he started doing ever since he decided to become this like super Scientologist poster boy of the world. It's something he does in his interviews, and he didn't used to do that when he was just being an under the radar Scientologist. I don't know why the fuck he does that. Okay, so in this group, in their compound, which is in upstate New York, they have this person who's posted her job is she's like the pretend doctor. And she runs around with a little medical bag, and she's got a little white jacket on or whatever. And she's not a doctor, but it is her job to disperse medical care and advice and to tell people what to do and to take care of this and take care of that. And every Sea Org organization has that same person. It's called the Medical Liaison Officer. They call it the MLO. And they're responsible for everything medically, short of taking the person to an actual doctor. I've never understood how they put people on these posts and have them be responsible for deciding whether someone is contagious or not, deciding whether someone should go to the doctor or not. You're a 16-year-old kid. Why is this your job? So that was just a little thing. So there's this one of the girls they bring in from the tornado site. I forget her name in the show. She's mildly attractive. In the show, the show does a good job of making the girl look like really damaged goods. Like she's been really beaten up by life. But you can tell she's an attractive girl, and I'm sure in real life she's very attractive. But the camera, everything they film in a show is 100% intentional. The camera makes a point of showing how everyone's kind of eyeballing this girl as she walks by, like, who's the new hot girl, right? Or like, who's the girl that looks really damaged but is at least mildly attractive, and we're not used to having those around here. Okay, that made me crack up because the Sea Org is so much like that. Not because there aren't attractive Sea Org members, but because sometimes there can be a scarcity. There can be a scarcity. People get married so quickly in the Sea Org. Because you can't do anything without getting in trouble in the Sea Org unless you get married. And people get married so quickly that there aren't tons of attractive unmarried people around. So if you're in the Sea Org and you're not married and you see a new Sea Org member, a new Sea Org member just joins and just finishes the EPF, which is like Sea Org boot camp, everyone's like getting in line to take their first crack. At trying to, be the first in line to go out with her, which is basically, seeing each other at mealtimes for a few weeks until you decide to get married. So that was funny. All right, so a bunch of the next thing I noted here, a bunch of the Myers kids, there's a scene where they're in school and they're in the cafeteria and they're keeping to themselves. They don't really socialize a lot. And they're at lunch and they're saying a prayer for lunch or whatever, which wasn't really the point of this. But then they start getting teased. Like these kids get hazed. And the show depicts that the public school that they're in, you can tell that everyone else in the school, they're trying to portray this school as a place where everyone's into drugs, everyone's into sex, no one's interested in education, everyone's basically just doing all of these sinful things, and the Myers kids are the only ones that are pure and true and good and value education and exhibit humanity and care. And I'm only noting this down because this is how Scientology portrays the WOG world. WOG is Scientology's word for non-Scientologists. And Scientologists hate public school. They are completely against public school. The only way a Scientology kid would end up in public school is if the parents were too poor to afford a private school, or to send them to one of the Scientology private schools. Like here in Clearwater, there's the Scientology private schools are Washburn Academy, Clearwater Academy, and the Delphi Academy. And they're all relatively expensive. Now, because Scientologists these days are giving so much money to Scientology that they're running out of cash, there's some really excellent charter schools here in town that have become very popular among Scientologists. And a charter school is a free public school that basically has its own curriculum. But I'm just mentioning this thing about the public school because Scientologists' concept of public education is a place where the psychiatrists have taken over, everyone's on drugs, everyone's diagnosed with ADD, everyone is either on street drugs or psychiatric drugs, and it's a terrible, violent place to be. And I was struck by the fact that that's how they were portraying this school in the TV show. Okay, what's next? Oh, this is good. So, in this first episode, there is a woman who has escaped the group. She's escaped. You don't know what her backstory is because you just see her sort of looking frantic and driving around and hiding here and hiding there. And she's in a car and she's like, pulling her hair out and she's stressing out and she's freaking out. And she pulls up to a property and she's looking, and you get the hint. You start to get the idea this might be her mother's house. And she steps out of the car and she starts to nervously walk towards her mother's door. And boom, three Myerists have been sitting in a car about 15 feet down the street, 20 feet down the street from her mother's place. And the moment she gets out of her car to go into her mother's place, these Myerists jump out of the car. They're very clean. They're very well, clean. What is the only word? They look sharp, but they're also very adamant, and they are very confident in that they are justified in being there. They're not acting like they think it's weird that they're there. They're acting like they're just there to help her. Hey, we just come back with us, and we want to help you and want to bring you back and we want to make it better. None of this like, why are you sitting in a car outside of my mother's house waiting for me to intercept me on my way there? Like, this is just like Scientology. Go to where can you see this? It might be on Tony Ortega's blog. There are so many stories that you can read of people who escaped the Sea Org or escaped the international base and detail the effort that were taken to recover them and track them down. The most recent one is a couple that left the Freewinds. And the gentleman's name is Peter. I say his name Neary, but let me give you the spelling of that because I just want you to Google it. I think his story is actually been being published on Tony's blog. Peter Nyiri. He recently escaped from the Freewinds, and he gives an incredible story of how he and his wife were hunted down. So that's ripped straight out of the Scientology storybook. Let's see. The new girl, this new girl who I said looks kind of dirty. She's in some sort of I'd call it an entry interview, kind of an orientation interview, and she's asked by Michelle Monaghan's character whether she understands what the movement is about. See, they call their group a movement. And she goes, well, if I understand it correctly, you basically just sign up and then you're pain free. I just noted this down because that seemed to me to be an obvious reference to Dianetics, which is usually the first thing anyone does in Scientology. It's usually how people get introduced to Scientology, and Dianetics is all about erasing the painful emotions from the reactive mind. The current leader in this show was born into it. Okay, so you basically have two characters who are co-leaders. You have Cal, who's Hugh Dancy's character, and you have Michelle Monaghan's character. And let me see what her character's name is. Oh, come on. Sarah. Okay, her name's Sarah. They're kind of co-leaders. Sarah has been born into the movement. She's second or third generation. And Cal came into the movement at a very young age. I thought this was interesting because David Miscavige got into Scientology at a very young age and was not, in fact, born into Scientology. So there was a similarity there between how Cal's character was written and David Miscavige's real story. They do call Dr. Stephen Meyer the founder. The guardian of the light is one of the ways they refer to him. And I wrote something down here. I thought I had written a quote down here. In this entrance interview where this girl's asked, so do you know what the movement is about? And she says, well, you just sign up and then you're paying free. Michelle Monaghan kind of says, well, no, I wish it was that easy. But then she starts talking about Dr. Stephen Meyer, and she has this great look on her face, and she's like, he is so, I'm gonna miss the exact word, but something like, he is so one with the truth that he is literally surrounded by light. And she has such a look of confidence and contentment and the complete absence of any doubt, like just full naivete, that she 100% believes that what she is just saying, which sounds completely ridiculous, is 100% true. And that just reminded me of the things people in Scientology believe about L. Ron Hubbard that, if you weren't in Scientology, sound completely fucking ridiculous. And yet they're 100% convinced that these things are true. Oh, he lives so deeply with the truth that light literally surrounds him. Literally surrounds him? What is it? How's that going to work? Okay, so he's off writing the last 3 rungs of the ladder. What am I lost being? Oh, right. Okay, so there's a cut to another scene in the show where Aaron Paul's character Eddie, he's giving some sort of introduction speech to all of these people who were just brought in from the tornado site, and he's basically giving, if anyone's done has any involvement with multi-level marketing, you'll understand this concept of you get people to join by giving them your story. Before I was a member of this group, this is how my life was. Then I found the group. Now my life is fucking wonderful. Okay, Scientology is the same way. And he's basically giving him the same pitch, except he's doing a great job. And his story is that he was lost, beaten, helpless. He was on drugs. He had a great relationship with his brother. He lived with his brother together. His brother hung himself in the kitchen by an extension cord. And then Aaron Paul, his character in the show, is running through the streets just wanting to die. And he runs into a bookstore and he picks up a book and he just starts reading a book. And I'm like, this does sound just as stupid as some of the stories I've heard of Scientology, where you're like, really? That's what you're going to do at that point of emotional turmoil in your life? You're just going to pick up a book and start reading? Because I'm not sure that's what I'd be doing. But he goes into a bookstore, he picks up the book, he starts reading the book, and the book is The Ladder, the first book of the Meyerist movement, of Meyerism. And he reads the book, he's like, oh my God, the book's explaining everything in my life to me, from the suffering to the emptiness. And then I ran 6 miles across town to the nearest Meyerist Center, and I was home. And I'm like, oh God. But it really is a perfect example of how people get sort of roped into these groups by hearing very genuine, passionate stories from people. Except in real life, those people have normally spent a lot of time perfecting and crafting those stories to sound as convincing and as enticing as possible. Okay, so Cal, Hugh Dancy's character, he's supposed to be the leader. And he almost bangs the hot girl on day 1. He almost does, but he doesn't. So I'm gonna leave that out of my notes for right now. I'm gonna skip that because that's not quite relevant until later episodes. So check this out. This is fascinating. We find out in this show, some of these notes, I wrote them in a way as to try not to be spoilers, and then later on I realized it was a hopeless cause, but I'm going to do my best here. We find out that one of the leaders of this group is secretly meeting with the lady who escaped because he himself is having doubts. So what happened is, it's going to be a spoiler. Eddie, when he was in Peru doing 6R, which was the Ayahuasca. I'm going to keep saying it wrong. He sees a vision of his dead brother. And his brother leads, like, it says, like, follow me. And he follows his brother to another room on this compound in Peru. And he opens up the door, and he sees Dr. Stephen Meyer. Instead of being in Peru, riding up the last 3 rungs of the ladder, Dr. Stephen Meyer is in a hospital bed, unconscious, hooked up to a bunch of machines, basically dying. And this was a vision that he had while in Peru doing 6R. And so his brother is showing, in this vision, his brother's showing him that some of the most basic things he, Eddie, the character in the show, has believed his entire life about this movement and about the founder, and who the founder is and what he's doing and what he's capable of is a lie. Hold on one sec. Hey, I'm going to finish up a video I'm doing, okay? I'm going to shut the door. Everyone be quiet, please. Okay. All right. So in this vision, he basically, even though he's supposed to be doing his 6R level, which is supposed to be a pretty high level in the group, and his experience on this level caused him to start to have doubts about the group and about the founder. So he goes home. He goes back home up to upstate New York after finishing this level in Peru, and of course he's having to pretend like everything is great. Oh yeah, 6R was awesome, but you can tell something's not quite right. Oh my God. Just read Tony Ortega's blog post from this morning as a follow-up to last night's episode of Scientology and the Aftermath. The blog post is about people who have done OT8, which is the highest level of auditing in Scientology that's currently been released, or that even exists, really. And it specifically talks about people finishing OT7 and finishing OT8 and thinking, this is fucking shit, and having to pretend like it was wonderful, because they weren't allowed to tell people that it wasn't. So Eddie comes back. He had this terrible experience on 6R. He's starting to have doubts. He's not telling anybody about them. He's lying to his wife about it. It's very obvious. It's straining their relationship. She's starting to suspect him. He goes online, and he finds a website that has like a hotline phone number for people to call who are in the group and are having doubts, and he calls the number. And the number goes to that lady that we're seeing in the show who's escaped the group. And she has, secrets of the group that she wants people to know about. And so he meets up with this lady, but of course it's in a motel room. And of course his wife followed him there. And of course she thinks he's having an affair. And what happens is he's so terrified of telling his wife or the other leaders of the group that he's having doubts, and that he's meeting up with people who have escaped and who have been expelled. They call it banished, I think. I gotta double check. I'll revisit that on a later video. He's so terrified of admitting that he would rather his wife think he was actually having a fucking affair. So he cops to having the affair, and I'm gonna skip an episode. He gets sent to their version of the RPF, and I'm like, what the fuck? He gets sent to where he's imprisoned in a room that he can't get out of. Now, someone listening could go, well, that's not exactly what the RPF is. No, it's not exactly what the RPF is, but it's very fucking similar. You're confined in a room, and it's forced confession. They give you some sort of a drug drink that makes you tell the truth, and they interrogate you, and they tape record it. And I'm like, oh, come on. How are they getting this stuff? How are they able? I mean, obviously, someone can do a lot of research online, but it's one thing to read things online. It's another thing to truly understand the nature of the experience. And whoever is consulting on this show, and the creator and the writer, truly has captured the essence and the experience of what it feels to be in the Sea Org and to be a public Scientologist at a very high level. So let's see, almost done with my notes here. So they're going on and on and on. Oh, there's some meeting. They're going on and on. It's like this meeting of the elders, and Cal's character, Hugh Dancy, he's the one who just came back from California, and he's the one who claims to have had a lot of interaction with Dr. Meyer, and I don't even think he has. I think he's lying about this. And he's like, he's basically giving he's like preaching to the choir. He's going on and on and on about how everything Dr. Stephen Meyer has ever predicted has come true. he's talking about like climate change and war and all this stuff, and that everything will collapse and only those who have ascended the ladder will be safe. Well, okay, and in the show he goes, he told me what's in the next 3 rungs of the ladder will make your life in the here and now. And he's like, you know, again, he gets this perfect expression that so well mirrors the way people talk in Scientology. The words he says are, it'll make your life in the here and now so much better, and our lives in the garden spectacular. But the way he communicates this is in a way where you're trying to tell someone you're trying to say something to the other person, but at the same time you're trying to let them know that it's not actually possible for them to truly understand how good what you're telling them is. And you know, he's kind of like, the next 3 rungs of the ladder are going to make our lives in the here and now so much better, and our lives in the garden spectacular. And I'm like, he's putting on all this fake emotion, and he's preaching to the choir like that wasn't necessary. And that I would see that kind of stuff happen all the time when I was in the Sea Org in Los Angeles. And the post is the COCLOSUS, the commanding officer of the Continental Liaison Office of the Western United States. Her name was Vicky Shantz, and she was a massive bitch. But she also felt the need to very constantly patronize and condescend to all of the Sea Org members she was talking to, even though many of them had been in the Sea Org for a lot longer than she had. And she would always lecture to you in a way that made... she was very quick to lecture to you in a way that you probably can hear what she's saying, but you couldn't really understand what she's saying, because what she's saying is so profound that you couldn't really grasp it. And in some weird way, the way Cal was speaking this episode just reminded me completely of that, which again makes me go, who's consulting on this thing? This is amazing. But then at the same time, it also goes, yeah, but maybe I'm reading into it that whoever's consulting on this thing just knows so much about Scientology. Maybe these dynamics of Scientology that I'm seeing mirrored in this show, maybe those are common in many other groups. I can tell you, the small amount of interaction I've had with people who have done Landmark leaves no doubt in my mind that Landmark is essentially Scientology light. I recently had someone try to recruit me to Landmark. Literally, they called me at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, saying that they had just Googled my name. It was someone I was doing a business transaction with. There was a real estate transaction. And they had just Googled my name, and now they understood. Like, you've understood what? But in a way, what she was saying is, now I understand what's wrong with you. I'm thinking, you called my ass up at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday to basically tell me now you understand why I act the way I do. And she basically pitched me Landmark. She pitched me Landmark. And I was like, you know Landmark is just a ripoff of Scientology, right? And she's like, oh, no. I'm like, oh, yes, it fucking is. And okay, well, that's all my notes for season 1, for episode 1. I kind of want to do one of these videos for every episode, but then I wonder, who am I doing that for? Am I doing it for the people who've already, maybe I'm doing it for the people who've already seen the episode, but don't know enough about Scientology to know how much of that episode mirrors Scientology. Because if someone's going to watch the show, they don't need me to describe every single episode to them. I'm just spoiling the show for them. So maybe I will do one. Maybe I will do one of these videos for the show, and that'll be it. The audience will be, because I don't want to spoil it for everybody. If you've seen the show, if you've seen this video and you haven't seen the show, just go binge watch the show. And then when I do the videos, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and the videos will probably be more entertaining. Let's see. Is there anything, a follow-up to last night's Leah Remini show that's worth discussing? Other than the fact that I thought it was great, and I actually learned a lot from it. I myself had been very confused about what I had heard regarding OT8 and what I had heard regarding finding out that the incidents you ran weren't really your incidents. They were they belong to all of your body thetans. There was something about that didn't make any sense to me. I mean, I know I know that in a very real way it doesn't make sense, but I mean, in just a sequential, logical way, it did not make sense to me how that would work even within the world of Scientology. And last night's show actually really did clear it up for me. All right, well, let me open up just the chat here real quick and see if there's some questions I can tackle. I'm actually going to go backwards in the chat. Oh, no. Okay, no actual questions. Oh, by the way, if anyone's watching this video right now and they could not watch the Scientology, the Aftermath show last night, here's how you can watch it live in real time next week. I also do not have cable, so I can't watch A&E. And last season, I would just watch the shows live on A&E's website, and they're not offering that as an option anymore. So I have a friend of mine who will live stream the show on Facebook. And if you guys message me on Twitter or on Facebook, or maybe even just through the YouTube channel, I can give you her name. You can friend request her on Facebook, and you can watch the Facebook Live video next week of the show. All right, let's see. I'm scrolling through these real quickly, and I don't see a lot of actual questions. All right, cool. All right, we're just going to leave it at that, guys. I hope this was somewhat fun, and I will do something again soon. Talk to you soon, guys.